What's going on, everybody? This is the Ball Up Top podcast. This is our kind of our review of the NBA summer. Before we start off with our regular scheduled program of season two with Ball Up Top. So I'm going to hit just a few of the key points from summer, and then I'm going to talk about what we got going on here, and then and we'll be back to our regular scheduled program. So the one thing you can always depend on in the NBA is the fans. The fans like to lose their mind. One of those cases comes from, and I'm probably mispronounce his last name, but Victor Wembanyama. Victor is, in my opinion, and the opinion of many, many scouts, the greatest prospect in NBA history. The reason why is really simple. He's a 7'4", 7'5" guy with guard skills. He doesn't need to be fast because he takes such long strides. You can't block his shots. The man, if he can stay healthy and he has any sort of work ethic, I mean any sort of work ethic, it's a done deal. Because who's going to stop him? How are you going to defend somebody? Like, people can't defend Kevin Durant from shooting over them, and he's 6'10". How are you going to stop this young man? But going back to NBA fans, I saw I had several conversations with some very staunch LeBron James fans. They were insisting that no, he's not a better prospect than LeBron. And I had to explain to them, and they probably still didn't get it. Nobody is saying that Victor is going to be better than LeBron. Nobody's saying he's more NBA ready. Nobody's saying that. What we are saying is the tools that he has make him the greatest prospect of all time. Just like he's got guard skills and big man skills. And he's got elite length like we've never seen before. And for those LeBron fans who are getting really upset about that, like, y'all really need to just take a step back. You're not being basketball fans. You're being LeBron fans, which there's nothing wrong with being a fan of LeBron, but what we have here is something undeniable. The greatest prospect ever. Now, will he live up to the hype? Probably not. But we can at least acknowledge that. And those conversations took me into other conversations where I've noticed that this small group of fans they like to put LeBron, in the forefront of every basketball conversation. Now, LeBron is great. He's a legend. He's a top handful of players the league's ever seen. But with that being said, just because he's great and he's really good at a lot of things does not mean he can the greatest of things. For example, defense. LeBron at his peak was a very, very good defender. But that window of him being a very good defender was not a long one. And then you've got guys like Shane Battier and Bruce Bowen and Ron Artest. And these other guys who are also elite wings, elite defensive wings, who were probably better defenders than LeBron. That doesn't mean they're better players. It just means they're better defenders, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it actually kind of, when we get back to doing basketball philosophy, which we'll talk about later on in the show, that's going to be something that we're gonna get into, because fans have really lost perspective on the difference between being the greatest, being great at something, and where they actually fit in a conversation. Also, the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz went into rebuild, And so we can't talk about the Utah Jazz without also talking about Cleveland Cavaliers, who got Donovan Mitchell, and Minnesota, who got Rudy Gobert. I like what Minnesota did. I can't promise it's going to yield results. But in a copycat league, Minnesota decided to do something different by going with two legitimate centers in their starting lineup. I respect that. I respect that they're looking at their team and saying, what do we have and what can we use? Cleveland Cavaliers. I respect what they did getting Donovan Mitchell because they kind of needed that one guy. And Mitchell could be that guy for them. But I kind of feel like Cleveland's downfall, at least for right now, is they're so small in the backcourt. Like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, they could post up either one of those guys. Like what are we doing here? How are we going to compensate? Which brings us to Utah. Utah went and got a ton of draft picks. And it's a rebuild, and that's what Danny Ainge does. But the difference between Danny Ainge rebuilding Utah and Danny Ainge rebuilding Boston is Boston had all that history going for it that a lot of players would be willing to step into greatness, so to speak. Where Utah, you've got a couple really good players, you had a really good coach, and that you don't have a lot. You don't have a lot of tradition to hang on to. Your location is not ideal. There's issues there, but they got a lot of draft picks, so that maybe they'll be the ones who draft Victor. Who knows? Zion Williamson signed a new contract, and good for the Pelicans because they put in a contract that had provisions. So Zion wants all of his money. He's going to have to be healthy. He's going to have to stay within a certain weight. Like they basically took out insurance on him playing. It's similar to what the 76ers did with Joel Embiid. And so I thought that was a good deal for both of them. And Zion's looked pretty good to start the season. He looks in phenomenal shape. We got the Brooklyn Nets, and if you watched any of our YouTube series of the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, like this is where I predicted how it would end, where Durant didn't go anywhere. Brooklyn has kind of struggled a little bit coming out the gate, but I'm not sure if I don't think it's going to be a problem. They have a nice team. If they can come together, they'll be fine. I think they'll be a contender, despite the fact I don't know what they've done to prove themselves as a contender yet. But I think they'll be a contender when it shakes out. Russell Westbrook. Wow. Russell Westbrook is getting a hard time. And don't get me wrong, I myself have come into question his hoop IQ at times, some of the choices he makes, some of his shot selections. But it's rough to be Russell because when he does something good, he gets no credit. And when he does something bad, he gets tons of blame. And sometimes he doesn't even do anything bad and he's still getting tons of blame. Russell has a place in NBA history. I personally believe the Lakers are running their offense wrong. If you want to utilize Russell, you take LeBron off the ball. And that's an issue in respect of LeBron has other goals this season. I know he wants to make the playoffs. I know that he, wants to win a championship, but he also is trying to pass Kareem. He's also been a guy who's been on the ball his entire career. But a real simple question for you. You got a jump shot. Who you want shooting it, Russell or LeBron? And that's why that is the main reason why you take LeBron off the ball. There's tons of side pieces that will help out with that, like him being off the ball will free up cutting lanes. It's going to do a lot. But the main reason is you utilize Russell Westbrook for what he can do because he's limited. Where LeBron is not nearly as limited. Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. Um, wow. So I said this to some people after it happened. You know, the media, TMZ, it blew up. The only person who can make this right is Draymond. But does anybody else get the feeling that Draymond doesn't care? Like, I know he's saying the right things, but Draymond's not getting paid. Let's just be real honest about this. Draymond Green is not getting paid. He's got a fair contract right now, but he's not going to make the money. He wants a max deal. No one's going to give him a max deal. I don't think you're going to find not one NBA team, even if they had the cap space, that would give him at this stage of his career a max deal. And so the Warriors handled business. They gave Jordan Poole $35 million a year or 4 years. I thought that was a little bit much for Jordan Poole, but after Draymond's assault of him, I kind of I think they were kind of in a spot. Um, they paid Andrew Wiggins 109 over 4 years. And Wiggins took a discount after making the All Star team. That's going to help out a lot. I don't. I think the Warriors are going to. They're going to make some kind of solid offer for Draymond. But if he really wants that kind of money, I think he's out. The other thing is this: his relationship with LeBron is getting awkward, and I don't say that because I know things. I don't. But in the middle of a regular season game, you're sitting on the bench and LeBron's in the corner, and you run up to the court to say something to him. I mean, I know there was no action; it was a dead ball. But are you serious? Like this is what we're doing? Um, it's getting awkward. I don't know. Draymond Poole said about Jordan Poole. He said something about him. He he came back brand new. But Draymond kind of comes coming across as a brand new guy. The last year or so, all the flowers he's been giving LeBron kind of doesn't go along with who he's been in the league. And I'm not saying LeBron doesn't deserve his flowers, but no one they want to see you compete. You can give him his. You don't have to give him his flowers so publicly all the time. It's awkward. The last we're going to talk about is the Redeem Team, the documentary on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's not as good as like The Last Dance. And there's a couple other basketball documentaries that I could probably point out as being a little probably better put together. But it is a beautiful story, and it's a great tribute to Kobe Bryant. It is the old adage of your favorite player's favorite player. And anyone who hasn't seen it, like, take some time because Kobe often, when it comes to this sport, it's crazy cause for him to be so elite to get so overlooked. Like whether you think LeBron is better than Kobe or not, like I'm not here to have that conversation or to change anyone's minds or do anything like that. But I'll hear people say, "Oh, LeBron's been the best player in the league since 2007." No, he hasn't. 2012, that's when he broke through. You could argue and say 2011, but not like 2008. No, that was Kobe. Like Carmelo said it best. Kobe came in there and said, "I'm tired of watching y'all lose." Stats are wonderful, but if your stats aren't leading to victories, they don't mean anything. Anybody can put up stats. You get enough opportunities, you just put them. They just come your way. You're on the floor long enough, you get extra rebounds, you get extra assists, you get extra points. It's about opportunity. But when your stats lead to victories, that's when you're doing something. So that's it for our preview portion. Um, I did want to sit there and get into what we got going on with the start of the new season. So we're back in the swing of things. Next week there'll be another show. Um, my plan is for I think next month to bring back basketball philosophy, which will be it's going to be a little bit of a change for basketball philosophy. We are going to do some video breakdowns. We are going to we're going to sit there and do hopefully Q and A's about replayed games. Um, we're going to go over controversial ideas. So yeah, basketball philosophy is going to be a little bit different. It's not just going to be just concepts. Like we're going to start trying to put those concepts on the screen for you. Um, there's a couple other big plans. I don't want to spoil yet. We're still working out our road trip for this year. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, last year, middle of November, we went to Boston. Um, Back in April, and then we went to the Final Four. So this year we're looking, or we're weighing a couple options. We're trying to figure out where we're gonna go, what arenas we want to visit, what cities we're gonna go to. So that should be fun. We have a couple other things lined up, but until I can get them going, I don't really want to pull the cat out of the bag until I know for a fact. As you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the show is now going to be on YouTube and wherever you stream your podcasts. This is going to really help out basketball philosophy because I think what's going to happen. I think basketball philosophy is probably going to become a bi-weekly show, but it's going to be more video breakdown. It's going to be more explaining how the game works, explaining what you're seeing, because I do find that sometimes there's a simple concept I'm going to go over real quick. Individual stats. No matter what anyone says, individual stats are not individual. And it's really simple. We're going to take one basket. How did that person get the ball? Was it an assist? Was there a defensive play that led to that assist? Was there a rebound or a blocks out, or what else happened that got you in position to score? Did someone set a pick for you? Like it's important to understand these individual stats are not individual. They're credited to a singular player, but that player does not do these things by themselves. The game has to play out. So, and that's just the beginning of that. Like, I actually have a whole show planned in my head about going over individual stats, because I hear a lot of people talking about in the GOAT debate that Jordan's championships are team success, where LeBron getting the all-time scoring record. Well, that's an individual thing. No, it's still all a team thing. LeBron doesn't get those points without the opportunity to create those points. So it's all very much a team thing. And that's just a small taste of where we're going with some of this stuff. We're going to sit there and break some things down. We're going to break terms down. We're going to break plays down. We're going to get across concepts and ideas. And we want to have an open dialogue. I've got a couple ideas about, maybe replaying games. I'm trying to see what kind of permissions I need to do that. But replaying some games on YouTube and doing a live during it, and just talking, having guests and talking about it, and see if some of you guys can chime in and have these conversations. Because sometimes I think people's fandom is getting in the way of what they're seeing. But I could be wrong, because it wouldn't be the first time. I always tell people that they should question themselves. Like, feel free to question yourself. If you think James Harden is one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, cool. But understand why you think that. And don't feel threatened if someone else comes along or someone else brings up somebody from the past. Be willing to have those conversations. Be willing to listen and be willing to understand that, and to have keep an open mind because someone may come up with a point that's like, you know what? Maybe you're right. But that's just my 2 cents. So this is this week's Ball Up Top podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to continue checking us out. We're back, and the season's just getting started. One last thought: anybody who knows me knows I've said this before. You're not going to learn much about your teams in the first 10 to 15 games of the season. So if you're a Laker fan and your team is 0-3, don't feel like you need to jump off a bridge. If you're I don't know who's if you're a Jazz fan and your team last time I checked were 2-0, doesn't mean you're going to go to the playoffs. Like don't there's so many teams that have so much to still learn about each other, so don't go overboard with it. Kind of just enjoy it, use it for information gathering, and then start talking your smack about 15 games in. That's all I have for you guys this week. I'll hit you guys up next we're going to get back active on Instagram again. Please, that's at Ball Up Top Podcast. Our Twitter is at Ball Up Top Pod. Feel free to like, follow, subscribe, do all those things for YouTube. Please share. We're trying to grow. We're trying to do some things. I'm working on a new schedule with Darnell and Nate, so they should be back. Like I said, I'm trying to work on getting a couple interviews. So this should be good stuff. It'll be another good, exciting NBA year. Until next time, peace.